Hi everyone, welcome to English Digest. I'm Pat.
And I'm Erin.
So we're on our psychology article and we're talking about ending the cycle of emotional blackmail this month. So kind of a heavy sort of topic here.
It sounds like we're going to have some stuff to deal with.
Yeah, now blackmail is when you threaten a person, you send them some kind of message and say, if you don't do this, I'll give me money, I will reveal your secret to the public. So here, so it's emotional blackmail is basically saying if you don't do what I'm asking, then I will punish you emotionally.
Right, I'll make you feel really bad for not doing what I want you to do.
So you're using emotions to get people to do what you want them to do.
Right.
Basically, that is emotional blackmail. And as we read through this article, we'll find out what it is, how it works, and what we might be able to do to stop it.
Right, okay.
Let's read through day one of this 2-day article. Betty doesn't take no for an answer. Her son, Charlie, always complies with her unreasonable demands. After all, how could Charlie refuse his mother's requests after everything she has done for him? Meanwhile, Andrew gets upset whenever his girlfriend Natalie disagrees with him. To make him happy, Natalie reluctantly takes his side. What Charlie and Natalie don't realize is that they are the victims of emotional blackmail. Coined by Dr. Susan Forward and Donna Frazier, the term emotional blackmail refers to the psychological manipulation of a person's emotions to influence their behavior. Emotional blackmailers use abusive strategies such as fear, obligation, and guilt, or FOG, to instill dread and despair in their victim. What's more, if you do not behave the way an emotional blackmailer wants you to, they make it known that there will be consequences. Much like criminal blackmail, it takes the active participation of both parties for a case of emotional blackmail to occur. This process has 6 stages: demand, resistance, pressure, threat, compliance, and repetition. First, a demand is made. It can be direct or indirect. The former might sound something like, I don't want you to hang out with your friends tonight. It could also be disguised as, sure, go out with your friends. I can't promise I'll be here when you return, though. The demand goes against the victim's wishes, so it's often met with some resistance. The blackmailer responds by turning up the pressure with threats to get the victim to submit. The effects of FOG leave the victim with no choice but to comply. This compliance confirms the victim's vulnerabilities and shows the blackmailer this strategy is effective. The blackmailer takes this as a cue to use this technique again and again.
Okay, welcome back. Okay, so we're talking about the cycle of emotional blackmail. Now, we're going to start with a couple of examples that kind of explain what's happening in this emotional blackmail. First, we hear about Betty. She doesn't take no for an answer. She only wants people to say yes. Now, her son, Charlie, always complies with her unreasonable demands. So when you comply with something, you agree to do something, even if you don't necessarily want to. Now, an unreasonable demand is maybe she's saying,
Clean your room every day.
Every day. Or make me dinner right now, I'm hungry.
Always go to bed what time I tell you, that kind of thing. You can't see your friends tonight. We're having our TV night tonight.
Right.
And Charlie complies. I mean, after all, as the article says, how could he refuse, given that she's his mother and all the things she's done for him? She's raised him, feeds him, takes care of him, and so on.
Right. Now, I feel like this is one of the ways that she gets him to say, yes, I'm your mother.
Yes.
I do all these things for you. you need to do things for me too.
Yeah, so there's a bit of kind of guilt there, a bit of obligation kind of using like, hey, you owe me. You've got to do what I want.
Right.
So that's our first example. Here's another. So meanwhile, which means at another place, at another time, in another situation, a guy called Andrew, he gets upset whenever his girlfriend Natalie disagrees with him.
Okay.
So like Charlie's mum, Andrew doesn't take no for an answer. He doesn't like being told, no, you're wrong, or no, you can't have what you want.
Right.
And so to make him happy, Natalie reluctantly takes his side. So in the same way as Charlie does what his mum says, Natalie takes Andrew's side. She says, yes, you're right. Yes, we'll do what you want.
Right.
But she does it reluctantly. If you're reluctant, that's the ADJ, adjective form, to do something, you don't want to do it.
Right.
So if you do it reluctantly, there's the adverb form. You do it in a way you're not happy with it. You don't really want to do it, but you do it anyway. Now, Natalie, of course, may not actually say no outright if Andrew does get upset. So the reluctance may be internal. It's on her own part. And she's like, oh, man, I really don't want to agree with him, but I do want to make him happy. So openly, she will take his side.
Right. Okay, so what Charlie and Natalie don't realize, maybe they see that these things are happening, but they don't realize that they're actually victims of emotional blackmail. So they're losing out on something. They're losing out on their own happiness here.
Yeah, they're losing out on freedom. They're being taken advantage of.
Right.
Basically, they're being blackmailed into doing what their partner or mother, whoever, wants.
Right. Okay, so let's learn more about this term, emotional blackmail. It says here, coined by Dr. Susan Forward and Donna Frazier, the term emotional blackmail refers to the psychological manipulation of a person's emotions to influence their behavior. Okay, so this is quite a mouthful here.
Oh, yeah.
We'll start with coined. So when you coin a term or you coin a word or an expression, you think about that one or you invent that expression or term for the first time. So the first time someone put these sort of words together, they coined them, and the people who did this were Susan Forward and Donna Frazier. One of them is a doctor. The other is actually a writer.
Okay. Yeah, and if you coin something, you sort of make it popular. You put it in the public awareness, and other people then start using that term.
Yeah.
So they coined it as being emotional blackmail, and it's referring to, or basically meaning it's about, the psychological manipulation of someone's emotions. Psychological has to do with the way a person behaves, the way they think, the kind of thought process from cause to effect, and the reasons why anybody does what they do. It's for reasons of their psychology, which is the noun form. So it's using behavior methods. It's using all these mind tricks, basically mind control, to manipulate someone's emotion. Manipulation is the noun form. Manipulate is the verb form, and it means to use something in a particular way, and it's kind of has negative connotations.
It's a negative feeling.
We don't often use manipulation for a good way. It usually kind of means in a tricky way, in a bad way, in a way that you want but doesn't actually do much for the thing that is being manipulated.
Right. So you're using something to help you in some way, but it often means negative consequences for the thing that you are manipulating. Okay, so psychological manipulation here, they're using mind tricks to make another person act the way you want.
Yes. Emotional blackmailers. So blackmailer, that's the person who does it.
Right.
They use abusive strategies, which means they're using cruel methods, they're using very unfair ways. And we've got some examples of the unfair tactics or strategies that they use.
That's right. Okay, so there are 3 ways that they generally use to do these things, and we kind of put them together in an acronym here. They are fear and obligation and guilt. Altogether, they call them FOG. So it's easier to remember. So fear, obviously, is making someone feel afraid.
Yep.
Obligation is making someone feel like they have a moral duty to
Yes.
do something for you. This would be like an example with Betty and her son Charlie. Betty makes Charlie feel like, because I'm your mother, you need to do this. You are obligated to do this.
I'm older than you. I'm your parent. Therefore, you have to do what I say. That is the rules of society and the family. You know, you do what a parent tells you.
Right.
Now, the third one is guilt, and that would be the feeling of bad, the feeling that you have done something wrong.
Right.
And that therefore you are a bad person.
Right.
Unless you kind of do the right thing.
Right. So it's more like they're making you feel like it's your fault that they feel bad.
That they feel angry or upset. So these different tactics, you scare them, you kind of make them feel it's their duty, and you make them feel that they are bad people if they don't do what you want.
Right.
And all of these things, they instill dread or despair in their victim.
Okay.
So we've got a phrasal verb to instill something in something. That means to put that feeling in a person or to cause somebody to feel those particular things.
Right. It's kind of like over a period of time, you're teaching them that these things are normal or correct, or you're making them think that this is the way that life is, I guess.
So one of those things is dread. Dread is similar to fear. It's the feeling, it's being afraid of something, and it's also not looking forward to something. If you dread school, then you wake up thinking, oh no, I have to go to school. I can't face what will happen to me at school.
So it's
you just can't look at that thing with any kind of positivity.
Right. So it's like a fear of something that will happen in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
And despair.
Right. So despair is... It's not a great feeling. It's a feeling of having no hope at all. And if you've ever felt like there's no hope at all, you will know how desperately bad despair will feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So they use these feelings to make the victims, they will feel afraid. They will feel like there's nothing that good can come of this. They will feel every time they talk to this person, it's going to go badly. They're not going to look forward to it, and they're going to feel there's no way out, nothing they can do to solve this. So all of that's quite a lot to explain, but that is emotional blackmail. And there's a little bit more to it, but we are going to take a short break here and help get our Chinese teacher to help explain some of those ideas.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 今天我们要谈论的主题呢叫做 emotional blackmail, 也就是情绪勒索。首先呢，在第一段看了2个例子。第二个句子提到 Her son Charlie always complies with her unreasonable demands. 在这里提到儿子查理呢，总是呢会服从他妈妈不合理的要求。我们来看这个动词片语 comply 本来解释成为对要求命令的依从或者是遵从的意思，常常用来搭配的介系词是 with。 举个例子来说，我们遵守有关消防的所有条例，你就可以说 We comply with all fire safety rules。 再来看到第二个例子是男女朋友之间的关系，第一段的倒数第二个句子提到To make him happy, Natalie reluctantly takes his side. 为了要让自己的男朋友高兴，那么 Natalie 呢，只好不情愿的呢，站在他那一边咯。在这里的 reluctantly 副词解释成为很勉强地，或者是不情愿地。而这样子的情绪勒索是怎么来的呢？在第二段的第一个句子提到 Coined by Dr. Susan Forward and Donna Frazier, the term emotional blackmail refers to the psychological manipulation of a person's emotions to influence their behavior.这个句子很长，首先来看到 coined， 在这里用 VPP 表被动。coin 当作动词是有创造新字的意思。其实这个 term 这样子的词呢 emotional blackmail 是由这两人所铸造出来的新字，它指的是在英文里面 refer to 就是有指的是什么东西，指的就是一种心理上的操纵，你操纵的是一个人的情绪，所以我们讲到的是 the psychological manipulation of a person's emotions， 而你去呢影响去操纵他，为的就是 to influence， 想要影响他的行为跟举止，这就是所谓的 emotional blackmail。后面的句子继续提到 emotional blackmailers use abusive strategies such as fear, obligation, and guilt fog to instill dread and despair in their victim。在这里提到呢，这些情绪勒索者 emotional blackmailers 他们所使用的呢一些策略，像是 fear 恐惧， obligation 义务， guilt 罪恶感，三个连在一起的 initials 就称之为 fog。 为什么用 fog 呢？感觉就让人陷入迷雾当中，对这样子的受害者 victim 呢，会注入一些恐惧 dread 或者是 despair 绝望的感受。那我们称之为这样的策略呢是非常虐人的策略，英文就可以说 abusive strategies。
We're going to take a short break now, but stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So we've been talking about these feelings that emotional blackmailers will make their victims feel in order to get what they want. But there's a little bit more to it. Now, so the article goes on to explain, it says, what's more, if you do not behave the way an emotional blackmailer wants you to, so if you just say, no, I don't want to do these things, what they're going to do, what the emotional blackmailer is going to do is make it known that there will be consequences. So when you make something known, you in a public way say, this is going to happen, or this is, I am saying that this is a thing.
Yeah,
you're
you
telling
make it clear.
you make it
obvious that this is going to happen, and there will be consequences. Now, consequences can just mean the result of an action, the kind of thing that happens after. The way we're using it here is we're sort of meaning there will be negative consequences. Something bad is going to result from refusing to do this behavior. Whether it's, you'll be physically punished, or whether someone will leave you, someone will stop giving you support or money or something like that. They'll break up a relationship. Now, that's kind of where it relates to regular criminal blackmail, which is when you say to someone, pay me money or I'll tell the world your dark secret. So there is the consequence. Do this or else you will be, you're going to be
something
exposed.
Bad will happen.
So, so they pay the money. And much like criminal blackmail, it, or emotional blackmail, takes the active participation of both parties for a case of emotional blackmail to occur.
Okay.
So that means that participation is the act of taking part, of being involved, of doing something. So in actual blackmail, if someone says, I'm going to tell them your secret, I'll tell the press, unless you pay me, then it requires the person to say, okay, I'll pay you. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You maybe you expose them, but you don't get any money, so it's not really successful. It's not blackmail, it's just exposing someone's secret. In the same way, emotional blackmail, if the victim doesn't accept it and allow it to happen, it doesn't happen at all.
Right. But if they do allow it to happen, if they say, okay, you're right, then it becomes emotional blackmail.
Yes.
Okay, so this process of emotional blackmail has 6 stages. So they are demand, resistance, pressure, threat, compliance, and repetition. Now, we'll explain how that happens in a second, but let's look at a demand is when you want something.
It's a request.
Yeah, it's a request, and it's usually a very strong request.
Yes.
And then resistance is saying...
No.
It's refusing to do this request.
Yep.
Then you have pressure, which is...
Come on.
Yeah,
do it. Do it.
And then there's a threat.
You better do it.
You better do it or else. And then there's compliance, which means, okay.
Sure. Goes with that, complies with at the start of the article.
Right.
And finally, repetition. Repetition.
It happens
repetition.
Over and over and over again.
Yes, which is
stop.
where we get our title about the cycle of emotional blackmail. It's not like a bicycle here. We mean it's the same set of things that repeat again and again like a circle that can't be broken. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail. First, a demand is made, a request is made, and it can be a direct one or an indirect one.
Right. We have examples of both of these, actually. So the former, that means the direct one, that was the first one we talked about, might sound something like this. I don't want you to hang out with your friends tonight. Or I don't want you to spend time with your friends tonight.
Yes.
Spend time with me.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Don't go out with your friends and do stuff. You need to spend time with me. I'm your, partner, parent, close friend, whatever the relationship is.
Right.
Now, that's a direct one, and I'd almost prefer that because at least it's being honest and stating it.
Yes.
We can maybe have a discussion about why. But now this demand could also be disguised. If you disguise something, you hide its nature or hide its identity in some way. Physically, it could be, you put on a mask, you put on a big hat and sunglasses so no one knows who you are. To disguise a demand, instead of making it a demand, do this, don't do this, you put it in a more indirect way. You don't say it straight up. And the example given is, sure, go out with your friends. I can't promise I'll be here when you return, though.
Okay.
So it's not directly saying, I don't want you to go out, but it's presenting the demand in a way that you know what they mean.
Right. They're basically saying, I want you to stay here, but if you go out, maybe when you come home, I just won't be here anymore. So it's a bit of a threat.
Oh, it's got the threat straight in there, and this is worse for me.
Yes, actually, I can say that indirect demands they have much more of that guilt and obligation and fear mixed into it than the direct ones.
Yeah, direct one might result in an argument, but this kind of indirect one is going to result in guilt and worry and fear, like, oh my God, what's going to happen, and so on.
Yes.
Now, so that's the demand, and the demand goes against the victim's wishes, so it's not what the victim wants, it's opposite to what they want.
Right.
And so it's often met with resistance. If something meets with that thing, it encounters that. That's what happens. That's the sort of A results in B kind of thing. A is met with B. That's the response to it.
After this, so maybe you're saying, no, I want to stay home, but I'm going out with my friends.
It's my friend's birthday. I've said I've got to come. Yeah.
Okay, so what happens next is the blackmailer responds by turning up the pressure with threats. So when you turn something up, when you do it with a machine or like an oven, you turn up the heat, you make it hotter, you sort of put more into it.
Increase would be a good synonym.
Yes, you're increasing how much pressure you give to the victim. So you're saying, oh, please, come on, stay home with me.
I'm lonely, come on, we can watch a movie.
Right.
You went out a few nights ago, etc. So they up the pressure and the threats. So if you do go out, I won't be home. If you do go out, I will harm myself, something awful like that, to get the victim to submit. Submit means to give in, and back to that early phrase, comply with what they want to happen.
Right.
Basically, they lose and the blackmailer wins.
Right. So it's another easy way to think about it is they obey.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so The effects of fog, this fear, obligation, and guilt, leave the victim with no choice but to comply. They feel if they don't say yes, something very bad is going to happen. They have no choice. They have to do it.
Yep. Fear, guilt, and the obligation of, oh, okay, I should stay in. She's my partner, she's my mother, etc.
Right. So,
he's my, works both ways.
So what happens when you comply? This compliance confirms that the victim is vulnerable. It confirms the victim's vulnerabilities. Now, a vulnerability is a way in which you are vulnerable or sensitive to something happening, something is going to hurt you.
Similar to a weakness. It's not a physical weakness, but it's a kind of a weakness in your defenses that can be used to take advantage of you.
Right.
Something that you're not going to be able to refuse easily.
Right.
So if you've shown that, if you've shown you're vulnerable and this blackmail can affect you rather than it just bouncing off and not affecting you, the blackmailer knows this strategy, this way of doing things is effective, and they take it as a cue to use the technique again and again. So the repetition. So a cue is an opportunity, and it's almost like a signal that you should do this, it's okay to do this, the time is right to do this. I often think of it in acting terms. A cue is the signal that it's your line or your turn to act or move somewhere.
Right.
A visual cue could be a sign or signal of something that this is what it is, this is what it means. So
this is what I have to do.
That's kind of what it means there.
Right.
So, obviously, this is all pretty awful. So we're now going to hand you over to our Chinese teacher once more before we wrap things up for part 1 of the article.
接着在第3段里面提到呢，情绪勒索的过程有6个阶段，在这里中间提到 This process has 6 stages， 分别是 demand, resistance, pressure, threat,Compliance and repetition 这6个阶段分别是要求、抗拒、施压、威胁、服从，甚至是重复、重演的意思。仔细来看，我们看到呢，中间提到 The demand goes against the victim's wishes, so it's often met with some resistance. 因为会提出这样的要求呢，通常是 goes against， 是有违背怎么样的，它是违背这个受害者的意愿，所以这样的要求呢，通常遭遇到的就是一些抗拒。我们讲到用被动的方式 be met with， 就是有遭遇到什么的意思。举个例子来说，这篇社论遭遇到非常严厉的批评，你就可以说 The editorial was met with sharp criticism。因为不是自己想要的，所以当然会遭遇到抗拒。接着 The blackmailer responds by turning up the pressure with threats to get the victim to submit。在这里提到勒索的人，他的回应呢是借由来 turning up the pressure。 turn up 就是有增加跟提升的意思，把这个压力提升，然后怎么样来提升呢？来威胁呢这样子的受害者要能够屈服。在这里的 submit 就是有屈服、服从的意思。后面还提到 This compliance confirms the victim's vulnerabilities and shows the blackmailer this strategy is effective. Compliance 就是我们前面提到的动词 comply 的名词，这样子受害者服从，也就证明了他自己本身的脆弱，然后让勒索者就会觉得这样子的 strategy 策略是有效的，所以就会一而再再而三的使用这样子的策略。OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
Okay, so this is a really pretty horrific description of emotional blackmail and how it works.
Right.
We're not just going to leave it there, though. We will be back tomorrow to talk about some strategies for dealing with it and also a bit more about when this kind of thing might occur, what kind of relationships it happens in, and so on, and kind of expand this subject that we've introduced today. So join us again for that, especially to learn what you can do about this situation. See you then. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.